Hello, everyone, and welcome to our circle and Salve Women. Today, we are going to talk about leading to the misinterpretation and misuse of creation. Now, as a mother and as a teacher, predominantly I am always I feel as if I'm volunteering my time and my talents and my treasures and just everything I possibly can, and wanting to make sure that subliminally I send the message without having to say, hey, you should volunteer, you're good. And I truly believe that's what's worked with me. It wasn't as if people say you have to do good. It was in their actions and their pro actions, in their seeking their purpose and really delivering, that made me see what could become of it, right? Because we have those perhaps in life that walk the walk and you are waiting for them to talk the talk. And that's one of those things that would get to me, is that when someone says they're going to do something and then they don't. I mean, I get that there are reasons for why we don't do these things, and I've come to the realization that as an adult, there are just some things you have to set aside to get to another part. I mean, hence my drawing from a distance, it looks a little bit warped, but to me, it is just something that I truly enjoy doing. And I know in time, and I am making progress, and I'm just enjoying it at the pace and at the pace that I'm creating for myself, to just enjoy every little moment. And so when we do these creations, it's interesting because you know that it's coming from something good, something that is just of goodness. And it's not as if you're trying to create something that will harm the world or will destroy and be destructive for the world. And, I think about all the people that I have mentioned in my article, and we talk about Tim Berners-Lee, just how he created the World Wide Web. And I remember in 1989, actually after that, when we just, discovered that he had been doing this, that one of his things was, just reminds me so much of Oppenheimer. I haven't seen the movie yet, I'm so sorry, but, I know that I've learned about him and just creating the atomic bomb, because back in the book Hiroshima, in a senior year, I still remember, and I remember distinctly how I can still to this day feel and smell the part where there was someone who was reaching out, helping someone in the waters, and all of a sudden, when they grabbed them, their skin came off like gloves. And to me, it was just like, okay, just take that in and really understand the atrocity of the atomic bomb. And we know, as my mama always said, war is ugly. There's just no, even though there is a win, there's always more great loss. And I think that's what we have to let sink in, is that unfortunately the ones who didn't ask to be in it end up being in it. And all of a sudden they're having to face all of the consequences or the ramifications of it all. And it is what it is. We know that the yin and yang, the darkness and light, have to come. That's just the balance, unfortunately. And we can't always say, let there be light, because we look forward to night. I mean, think about it. If everyone just said, oh, it's always going to be great that we have light, then, the time you want to take a nap, you're putting on your blinders, or you're closing the curtains, you're trying to take away some light. And from what I understand, like if people who are sleeping out in the woods or so, or camping or whatever it might be, being close with nature, you're getting less sleep, because as soon as the sun rises, then all of a sudden your body automatically rises. And so, we're trying to do all of these things for the world, and we're trying to do these creations, and not essentially is it going to be something that is tangible, but whatever it may be, sharing your mind, sharing your good heart, sharing just whatever it is that you feel is your calling to help someone, whether it be one starfish or many. You really know that it's within you to do it, because you have the passion to do it and you have the pro action to do it. And it's just really sowing goodness. I mean, there's always going to be those that are sowing something else. But you know what? You know that it is within you to continue to do what you have to do to make sure that it ends up propagating and just developing into what you want to see in the near future. And there's that hope, there's that faith that remains strong. And so I think about volunteering good to build goodness. And when you are essentially good, it's not as if you're saying to yourself, today I'm just going to volunteer my time to do good. It's just automatic. You wake up and you go, what is there for me to do today? You know, I mean, do you even ask, right? You've already pre-planned, so you're just walking through the motion of what you've already foreseen yourself doing. And that is, to me, what many of us involuntarily, heart, mind, body, and spirit, are already doing. And from what I mentioned in my articles, unfortunately, not everyone has the same mind, right? Or same thinking. Not everybody wants to make the same effort. Not everyone wants to really care. And it's just interesting to me because when we are in a situation where we're trying to do goodness, we're trying to promote, goodness in the environment. When our council member came in and said, I'm really hoping that we can create some kind of a volunteer community and volunteerism for the community where everyone's all in. And in the back of my head, I was already thinking, we are, and not to disrespect the council member, just amazing. I didn't say that out loud. But in my mind, I already knew that for those who are already sowing good, they're quietly doing it. Coming from a city growing up where I knew that sometimes you get mocked for doing the right thing, or you get threatened for doing the right thing. I've learned even at such a young age that not everyone is for the good, because in their mind, if we are for the good, whatever I'm doing is now going to end up being taken away. And some people, when tough times happen, they thrive. I mean, think about the pandemic. There were some people, some companies that actually thrived while others went down. And it's just again, the balance of life. And so I realized that there's going to be opposition, right? This Sir Isaac Newton, I know I've mentioned him a lot, but it really makes so much sense in the physics world where there's action, there's reaction, and when there's a push, there's a push from the other side. And so you're always constantly having to subconsciously battle that, and it's okay, because that's part of that innate mannerism in thinking to yourself, well, I just have to continue to do my part, and I am hoping everyone else is doing their part to make sure that we don't end up in a world where everything is now chaotic. And so I mention in this article where there are those who have created something and have said, well, wait a minute, I think we've gone too far here. And then when they mention it to someone else, there are people who say, no, keep going. Keep going with your bad self, I guess. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, we've gone far enough. And what this is going to lead to is going to be something that may not be good for the people and the world altogether. And yet there are people that say, no, we like what we see, and let's just keep going, to a point where you might have been the creator, but now you're the criticized. You're the one that is being badgered. You're the one that now people are pulling away to take your rights and your responsibilities. And then now just, what is the word of stripping you of it. And so, I learned that about Oppenheimer, and I'm sure those of you who have started to really create something that others saw something really good, and then all of a sudden when you're like, this isn't heading in the right direction of goodness though, then all of a sudden you're being pulled away from it, and then others are continuing. And that's the reality of life, is that you may be creating something, and then other people go, I can innovate that now. Thank you for the foundation. Thank you for the motherboard. Thank you for the core and the foundation that you created, because now I know I can I don't need you anymore to keep going. And so I think about, the people that I mentioned, again, Tim Berners-Lee, Oppenheimer, Wei Boyang, and I believe he was like the father of alchemy, who was known to have created the gunpowder. And then we have is it Jeffrey Hinton, who, recently is considered the father of AI, artificial intelligence. And we think of all those people that have said, wait, we've got to be responsible in our science though. And then all of a sudden other people are like, hush, hush now. We like our science. What do you do? What do you do when someone says, you know what, I want to continue to promote good. I want to continue to sow good. I want to continue to see that there's good in this world that can be created from our great minds that we have been given and blessed with, and that we have been gifted with. How do we continue to just evolve in that spirit of goodness? And Frankenstein is then created. So I think to myself, though, at the end of it all, David Goggins, said in more or less words, I want to make sure I get this right. I want God to be impressed with how I turn out. And I think how magnificent, because that's how I feel. I feel as if, you kind of go, oh, I did that wrong. Can I take a retake? As a teacher, I always have to think that way. Or when my children think that they've disappointed me, and all I think to myself is, you surpassed already my love, and admiration for you. But it would never be me to say, quit now. That's enough, because there are always others who are going to think, well, good, I can finally catch up. And then now eventually make them feel like they are less of me by the time I pass them up. I can't, not that mother to say, it's okay, stop now, because I know they have so much more in them to give. It's not for me to say what it is, but I know it's for me to give them that maybe insatiable feeling of that what now. And I know that their father, my dearest husband, has done the same, because we came from that. We came from, gosh, I have all this now from what little I had, but we can make so much more of it for our next generations to follow. And it's tough, because sometimes, you're creating, and there will be some interference, and sometimes your direction is then a little bit confused. There's a little bit of a forewarned, this feeling of, am I continuing in the right path? And then there are the interruptions, there are the distractions, there are just people who could care less about all the many things you're doing. They just want you to sit with them and do absolutely nothing, so that time can pass by as they have let time pass by. And it is up to you to go, no, I need to pursue for the livelihood of all those around me, and all I can honestly say is, at the end of it, there's only one person to answer to. At least I truly believe that. And I know many out there do believe it. And I know that there are many out there who are still, trying to figure that out. And that's okay. We're all in that journey. We're all in that adventure of trying to figure out what is right. But as Papa always told me, just follow your heart. It doesn't lie, right? I mean, you feel it. And so therefore it's got to be real to you, and it's not to anyone else's understanding. So why is it that when people create things, all of a sudden they step back and go, we need to do something where we can go forward with this responsibly, so that we are safe, and essentially we have respect for one another still in what we've created? I think that's important. I think we should all think that, because at the end of the day, you do have to look at yourself and go, what have I done? So in the words of my mother, God bless us all. Thank you always for listening, and we will see you next time.